People believe what they want to believe. An empirical example of this aphorism successfully but irrationally achieving both knowledge and truth, at least truth in a pragmatic sense, is the 50-50-90 belief used by many workers, including by myself and my shipmates as Navy electrician mates while operating and repairing electrical machinery aboard U.S. Navy submarines. The 50-50-90 belief states that whenever you have a 50-50 chance of making the right or wrong choice, you will have a 90% chance of making the wrong choice. This belief does have an empirical basis. The electrical power system on Navy ships is a three-phase system, meaning it is distributed through three power wires. Thus, when connecting a rotating electrical device to a system such as a motor, we had in our limited circumstances no way to tell whether it would rotate clockwise or counterclockwise. We simply made a random choice on which three power wires to connect to which of the three motor wires. Thus, there was always a chance, a 50-50 chance, the equipment would rotate the wrong way. If it rotated the wrong way, we had to disconnect two of the three power wires and switch them. Based on our experience, we knowingly and intentionally believed there was a 90% chance we would guess wrong, and so planned the preparation, necessary material, time allotment, and safety work based on this 50-50-90 belief. The belief that fire will burn me, as Wittgenstein once said, quotation mark, the belief that fire will burn me is the same kind as the fear that it will burn me, close quotation mark. Now, did we really believe this 50-50-90 belief to be true? No. Regardless of how stupid civilians believe sailors to be, we were smart enough to understand numbers, and that despite Wittgenstein's rule-following paradox, we understood that 50-50 odds and machinery did not have personal grudges that result in their changing just to make life miserable for us. Were we seeking the truth? Not really. If asked, we would admit that if someone actually did an empirical statistical study of the situation, it would show that just as with coin tosses, there was a 50-50 split in the rotations. Our 50-50-90 belief was what the philosopher William James called, they were really rules for action. This belief was really a rule for action. And in fact, this belief is often stated as the 50-50-90 rule. This 50-50-90 voluntary belief was also not a skeptical, cynical, or nihilist rejection of reason or truth. It was a rational rule for action, making life less miserable by essentially always preparing for the worst, and thus when the worst happened, we could deal with it both physically and otherwise. Not only can believing what one wants to believe, even if they are false beliefs, be rational, but it would also be rational to act on experience and intuition that is contradicted by both evidence and knowledge. In fact, arguments of ultimate value, arguments of morality, might require such will to believe as a moral exercise of free will. For example, as discussed in prior episodes, it may not be rationally possible to prove that acts such as murder, rape, robbery, and so forth are morally wrong. But despite this lack of proof and lack of rational ability to prove their immorality, we may still, as a pure act of will, believe that murder, rape, robbery, and such are morally wrong. Morality may be a pure act of will. It may be a pure will to believe what we want to believe. Thus, there is some epistemic rationality and even an epistemic understanding that precedes the evidence expressed in the aphorism, people believe only what they want to believe. I make a distinction between epistemic rationality and epistemic understanding, because some philosophers argue that because of this ability to not only have false beliefs in order to achieve knowledge, or as a rule for achieving knowledge, that there's a thing called understanding that precedes both belief and knowledge. The question is, remaining question is, how far does this voluntarism go? How far can we go in knowingly and intentionally having false beliefs? Believing in what one wants to believe is rationally seeking knowledge when it is a path to pragmatic or instrumental truth, and when the only other options are rejection of the ultimate value of one's life. However, can one epistemically will any belief, irrespective of the truth of that belief? If it is snowing, can I believe it is not snowing? This brings me to the contemplation often known as Moore's paradox.